Synopsis of the extract. As soon as Fogg, Aouda, and Passepartout arrive in Liverpool, Fix arrests Fogg. Phileas is thrown in jail. Several hours later, though Fix learns that another man was responsible for the bank robbery, and he releases Fogg, who orders a special train. However, he arrives in London late, making everyone disappointed. Phileas and company are now broke. The deadline for the bet has passed, and there is nothing to do but go home and pout. Phileas locks himself in his room and for the first time allows himself to be seriously depressed. Aouda and Passepartout are so worried that they too can't eat or sleep. The following evening, Fogg apologizes to Aouda for being unable to provide for her comfort as a result of losing the bet. She in turn proposes marriage to him and he joyfully agrees. Passepartout is sent to engage a clergyman. He runs off to get a reverend to marry Fogg and Aouda the next day, which they all think is Monday. While running to grab the nearest preacher to marry Phileas and Aouda, Passepartout finds out that it is actually Sunday, not Monday, like the group has been thinking. By travelling eastward around the world, Phileas Fogg, master calculator and obsessive organizer, has forgotten the time he is gained by journeying through all those time zones. He learns that their journey through the time zones had gained them a day and that they are not at all late. Passepartout races home, grabs Phileas by the collar, shoves him into a cab, and deposits himself at the club. Phileas presents himself with minutes to spare and effectively wins the bet. He is rich once more, but more important, as he says to himself, he has won the heart of a charming woman. Around the World in 80 Days, Chapter 34, in which Phileas Fogg at last reaches London. Phileas Fogg was in prison. He had been shut up in the custom house and he was to be transferred to London the next day. Passepartout, when he saw his master arrested, would have fallen upon Fix had he not been held back by some policemen. Aouda was thunderstruck at the suddenness of an event which she could not understand. Passepartout explained to her how it was the honest and courageous Fogg was arrested as a robber. The young woman's heart revolted against so heinous a charge, and when she saw that she could attempt to do nothing to save her protector, she wept bitterly. As for Fix, he had arrested Mr. Fogg because it was his duty, whether Mr. Fogg was guilty or not. The thought then struck Passepartout that he was the cause of this new misfortune. Had he not concealed Fix's errand from his master when Fix revealed his true character and purpose? Why had he not told Mr. Fogg? If the latter had been warned, he would no doubt have given Fix proof of his innocence and satisfied him of his mistake. At least Fix would not have continued his journey at the expense and on the heels of his master, only to arrest him the moment he set foot on English soil. Passepartout wept till he was blind and felt like blowing his brain out. Aouda and he had remained despite the cold under the portico of the custom house. Neither wished to leave the place. Both were anxious to see Mr. Fogg again. The gentleman was really ruined, and that at the moment when he was about to attain his end. This arrest was fatal. Having arrived at Liverpool at 20 minutes before 12 on the 21st of December, he had till a quarter before 9 that evening to reach the Reform Club, that is 9 hours and a quarter. The journey from Liverpool to London was 6 hours. If anyone at this moment had entered the custom house, he would have found Mr. Fogg seated motionless, calm, and without apparent anger upon a wooden bench. He was not it is true, resigned, but this last blow failed to force him into an outward betrayal of any emotion. Was he being devoured by one of those secret rages, all the more terrible because contained and which only burst forth with an irresistible force at the last moment? No one could tell. There he sat calmly, waiting for what? Did he still cherish hope? Did he still believe now that the door of this prison was closed upon him, that he would succeed? However that may have been, Mr. Fogg carefully put his watch upon the table and observed its advancing hands. Not a word escaped his lips, but his look was singularly set and stern. The situation in any event was a terrible one, and might be the stated. If Phileas Fogg was honest, he was ruined. If he was knave, he was caught. Did escape occur to him? Did he examine to see if there was any practicable outlet from his prison? Did he think of escaping from it? Possibly. For once he walked slowly around the room, but the door was locked, and the window heavily barred with iron rods. He sat down again and drew his journal from his pocket. On the line where these words were written, 21st December, Saturday, Liverpool. He added, 80th day, 11:40 a.m. and waited. The custom house clock struck 1. Mr. Fogg observed that his watch was 2 hours too fast. 2 hours, admitting that he was at this moment taking an express train. He could reach London and the Reform Club by a quarter before 9 p.m. His forehead slightly wrinkled.